Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing nonprofit, educational, or personal use, tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, you guys. This is part 3 of the Scientology children in auditing religious ritual or abuse. Posted on August 25th, 2021 by Stephanie Hutchinson. Is auditing a religious ritual or a form of child abuse? Scientology adamantly insists the former. Isn't it interesting how her post started out talking about abuse of children, and then all of a sudden she was aligned with you-know-who? You think that's an accident? Wakey, wakey. There's lots of organizations out here claiming to help children, including law firms that just want, well, the law firms don't get the nonprofit benefit, but some of these organizations, that's all they're there for. It's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, let's see what it says. More rubbish. Is information divulged during auditing sessions always kept confidential? It's just how people can believe this is beyond me. That's their blackmail material. Absolutely and without exception. Lies. It's a sure lie. Traditionally, all communications between a minister, they sure do push that whole minister thing, do they? Don't they? It's what they use for the R1 visas. They claim people are ministers. Isn't that great? And then they bring them over to America or England, maybe Canada, what's the other one? Denmark. And then they make them become labor slaves. Yeah, that's really religious. R1 visa fraud, anyone? And parishioner have been privileged and confidential. Lies. That is certainly the case in Scientology religion. Let's see how many times they had to say it was a religion. Well, they said parishioner, which deduces religion. That's one. Two times they got to let you know it's religious. And this trust is never violated. Right. Fair game, anyone? In fact, the church. Okay, so they had to say church again. This is part of the mind control as well. To keep repeating. In fact, the church would invoke, you know that's a magic term, right? All legal protections under its clergy penitent privileged. Oh, they use that all the time when it comes to sex abuse of the children. To safeguard this confidentiality, right? LAPD is all about it. The auditor's code requires a minister. In case you didn't hear minister once, they had to remind you once again. What they say, church, religion. They said church 2 times. They said religion once. Minister, which implies religion. That's the 4th word. The auditor's code, yeah, you know, like the child auditors auditing, requires a minister. So that's the 5th time they got to remind you it's a church. To never use the secrets divulged. You know what I say about secrets, you guys, and that's where the child abuse thrives. By a parishioner, just like a yeast thrives without, in being the wrong area. Divulged by a parishioner in an auditing session. The information given in trust during an auditing session by a parishioner. God had to remind us again it's a church. Like when a grown-ass man gets asked questions from a child auditor about his M habits, or has he ever been AR'd? All those sick, perverted questions that I went over earlier. To a minister, okay, they're reminding us again it's a church. They've said minister twice. So this is like what the sixth word that they use that's a church word, whether it's repeated or not, is considered sacrosanct. Okay, they had to add some more, right? They sure do push it, don't they? That's where you get all these other people in other religions that are like, well, I feel like it should be a person's right to practice their own religion without looking into anything. What a bunch of rubbish. All such information is kept strictly confidential. Yeah, that's why they show up on people's doorstep in the middle of the night, like they did to, who was the lady that they came to her house at 3 a.m? Oh, I think it was Lori Hodgkin. I forget who it was. I read about that, you guys. You remember the lady who got accosted at 3 a.m. at her house, and they asked her to make them coffee? Unreal. All such information is kept strictly confidential, lies, by a Scientology minister. In case you guys didn't know it was religious, they had to say minister for the third time. And the church. So they said church like about 4 times. Religious like twice. Sacrosanct. And the penitent privilege, which the clergy penitent privilege is what they hide behind for all the children getting raped in Scientology. That the LAPD's fine with, the Clearwater PD's fine with, FBI, Homeland Security, Immigration and Naturalization Services, Department of Education. What else, you know? Okay, I will leave a link in the description box. Oh, wait a minute, guys. Sorry, wait, I gotta go back to the original. Let's go back. So I read that. I got off track there. Sacrosanct? Confidential? Really? And then we've always got to talk about David Miscavige, as if David Miscavige runs the entire Scientology with his little pinky. David Miscavige's, this is probably when you know who got to her. Voyeuristic proclivities. Well, that I've heard about. I don't think he's the only one, though. Because think about the stories where Debbie Cook was getting off on talking about the children that went out 2D with adults. She should be locked up right now. Have been, in my opinion, have been firmly established by former members. Yeah, especially the child Scientologists. At the Int base, Miscavige is known to pride himself on having memorized the sexual irregularities of practically every staff member there. That's sick. He's really into knowing about Tom Cruise, I've heard. He has demonstrated his accomplishment. Yeah, this is when you know who got to her. Because she shouldn't even be talking about this. This has nothing to do with the... I mean, it's related. Anyways, I'll continue. To others by picking staff at random and announcing their most embarrassing sexual information. That's what's supposed to be confidential. And why, you know, it's just... Somehow they're using like the sex energy too to control people. It's so freaking sick. Of course, they're fine with children getting raped though, because you know children are adults in small bodies. To prove how much he's in the know. Ooh, I got a lot of blackmail material. I'm so special. Scientology, Abuse at the Top, Amy Scobie, Chapter 7. I haven't read her book. I kind of wanted to, and then initially I had wanted to read Renders, but then when all that stuff went down, I was just turned off really bad. Scobie continues, I was in Mark Yeager's office when Miscavige called in to brief him on the latest with a female celebrity connected with Michael Jackson. Oh, I can't imagine who that would be. Well, of course, Amy Scobie did work in the Celebrity Center, right, for a while. Yeager kept saying, no way, really? That's completely out of control. Wow. Sick. When Yeager hung up the phone, he told me what he had just been briefed on. They got to know about everyone's sex life. I mean, what a great church, right? That doesn't scream satanic influence, does it? Obviously, these two were snooping into celebrity confessionals. Yeah, the ones that are supposed to be confidential. Then snickering about the deeply personal information they learned. Wow. I wondered what the celebrity would think if she knew this was happening by the top executives. By the top executives of her church. Abid. I don't know who Abid is. Information stored in the PC folders of members is blackmail fodder for ensuring silence and obedience. Yeah, the LAPD is all about it. All these mysterious things happen when these PC folders are supposed to be purged. Like the ones Lara Anderson, Lara Anderson, who used to be known as Megan Anderson, was forced to burn all the files of Lisa McPherson case, which the LAPD and all the rest of them, Clearwater, they were all about it. Although the original coroner, she wasn't all about it. She told the truth in the original autopsy report. Just go check it out. Common sense and common human decency preclude any other function for recording and permanent storage of people's sins. I do like her writing, I have to be honest. She's got an amazing vocabulary and way of articulating. Children are audited in Scientology. Everything they reveal during these sessions is recorded, documented, and saved. Why? Scientology created fair game websites such as whoisamyscoby.com. Yeah, they're so original, aren't they? Whoismikerinder.com, and others contain material that was written in the assumed confidentiality of the auditing confessional. Yeah, why those websites haven't been challenged by authorities or the courts is beyond me. That's complete slander. I mean, you got to balance on the First Amendment right, but I mean, a lot of them go too far, in my opinion. That is maliciously revealed for the purpose of public excoriation is proof that auditing is not respected as a confidential religious right. This along with Miscavige's penchant for violating members' PC folders. Yeah, he's the only one, right? You guys know what's up. For his own entertainment, and one can accept that auditing is merely a means for the collection of potentially humiliating personal information for both prurient, and we looked that up earlier, I did, reasons and abusive control. There is no possible spiritual gain from the documentation and storage of one's sins. Obscene material is material which deals with sex in a manner appealing to prurient interest. Reading the contents of someone's PC folder, yeah, like Rinder never did, right? Then discussing it with colleagues to titillate and scandalize is absolutely prurient. Miscavige, as leader of Scientology, has no right to a member's confession. What isn't, you guys probably know, Hutchinson, isn't she a Christian or, which, to each his own, but she sounded to me like she was really into Scientology. I don't know. I just wonder. And it's free to wonder, to have an opinion. To have a question is free in this world. Scientology points to other faiths, including Catholicism, to justify auditing. Even the Catholics are not with what Scientologists do. What does that tell you? However, in the Catholic Church, no confession is ever recorded or otherwise documented that we know of. More importantly, the priest cannot discuss any penitent's confession, even when children get raped, even with the Pope himself. This is canon law. One MK Ultra to another, right? Any priest violating the seal of confessional faces immediate excommunication. Canon 983.1 of the Code of Canon Law, the Catechism states, it is a crime for a confessor in any way to betray a penitent by word or in any other manner for any reason. Amy Scobie's experiences highlights exactly the dangers of Scientology auditing. Not only was her session used to re-victimize her, yeah, they're still doing it, by the way, still going on, re-victimize her after she was raped. Yeah, I think with Amy Scobie, they told her she had committed mutiny because she was raped, if I remember correctly. But to the present, the information gathered during her auditing is still being used as psychological terrorism to intimidate and dehumanize her. Come to my house, man. Find out. During auditing at the age of 14, which she believed to be confidential. Oh, it would happen when she was... Wow, you guys. I didn't realize she was that young when it happened. Wow. All these children put out here, just smorgasbord for pedophiles. Scobie revealed that she had been raped by a 35-year-old man. Names. See, I understand why she might not list him, but people really, it's getting safer. We need to know who these MNFers are. And I bet a lot of them do have records at this point. Because, as you know, there's really not a lot of loyalty in Scientology. And I'm not saying there aren't really... I think there are decent people in Scientology, lost. They're not protecting children the way they should. But I'm talking about the more fair, relaxed, happy-go-lucky person that... What was I going to say? That they... Oh, what was I going to say about this? I don't know. I guess the point that I wanted to make was that a lot of people need to start giving these MNFers up. They have to. Rather than any spiritual support or comfort, which is going on right now, by the way. She was accused of being a repeat adulteress. 14 years old, you guys. They just throw these children out there, man. They're just like bait for these perverts, these creeps, these pedophiles. All whilst her rapist was protected. Yeah, it's what they do for everyone. And LAPD's fine with it. Clearwater PD, totally fine. Why FBI is not looking into this is beyond me. I mean, I kind of know, but I'm not going to go into that. Echoes of Hubbard's 7-year-old girl. Later, this accusation of adultery would be repeated by Scientology and the Fair Game website, set up to attack and discredit her. In addition, confessions she wrote while in the so-called sanctity of the Confessional of Auditing have been published on this same site for the sole purpose of character assassination. Well, I mean, honestly, let's just keep it real. Hutchinson knows all about that, doesn't she? But I think she was kind of hijacked, to be honest. Amy Scobie was not an adulteress. She was a child victim of statutory rape by a 35-year-old man. 35-year-old man, and she was 14. Some of you guys might be able to do the math that were in Scientology and figure out, maybe get a general idea who that was. It was in the Celebrity Center. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Was he a celebrity? Because they get off on that. Some of them, not all of them. Nor is Scobie's story of shaming and betrayal during auditing an isolated incident. Now listen to this one closely, guys. You got to read between the lines. Miriam Francis, who appeared as a guest on Scientology in the aftermath. Yeah, I think her stuff was cut a lot too. Along with Saina Kamula. I haven't covered Saina Kamula. I remember seeing her in the aftermath show. Revealed that as a child she had been molested by her Sea Org father. They both were... Wait, let me see. I know Miriam Francis was raped by her father. Let's just get the word right. And Saina Kamula, I think she might have gone through the same. I can't remember. Desperately seeking help, Miriam revealed during an audit that her father was a suppressive person The auditor, which you guys love to know who that was, found her revelation impossible since her dad was a Sea Organization member. It's called denial. It's called cover-up. It's called aiding and abetting crimes. It's called accessory to a crime. What else? I forgot what they had charged Jan Eastgate with, which is part of the higher ranks of Scientology. What a joke. Sea Org is a freaking joke. Speaking to the Sun, an anonymous former member recalls, I started delivering Scientology audits to adults. Okay, this requires special voice. I started delivering Scientology audits to adults at about 13 or 14, approved by my parents or my guardians. And that was where I had to ask people questions about their darkest secrets, especially sexual. You had to get every single little detail. Chris Malin talked about that. Sexualizing children, isn't that freaking great? Brave New World. I remember auditing an older man who was married with a family. And when I asked him about his thoughts, he eventually confessed, I'm thinking about effing you. Isn't that great, you guys? I personally believe in chemical castration, but apparently it doesn't stop them from their perversions. He didn't want to say it, and I didn't want to hear it, but I had to get the answer. It really messes you up. So I'm guessing this was a girl, a young girl. How many children find themselves similarly abused during Scientology auditing? There are no safeguards in place to protect minors in the auditing room. Can you imagine? I'm just going to say it once. I don't want to get too into it. But can you imagine Mike Rinder was very present at, what's that place called? The Harrison Hotel? He knew what was going on. Scientology publishing even a single confession by any member, current or former, nullifies their claims of clergy penitent privilege. Yeah, which the courts seem to be so happy to give them. Isn't that wonderful? So they have free reign to just abuse the children in any way they want to. And it's not just Scientology that uses it. Jehovah's Witness, they're big on using it, and others as well, like the Mormons. What was the Dugard? Go just look at the Dugards. It's sick stuff. Just to let you guys know, too, a lot of those higher-ranking ministers in some of these churches, that's not their only religion, and that's all I'm going to say. More importantly, not every auditor is a minister. In Scientology, which further removes auditing, that's a good point, from the protection of the confessional. Even so, Scientology threatens, they will invoke clergy penitent privilege in their own defense. Unfortunately for Scientology, the state of Florida has this loophole covered. I'd love to know what Ron Santos thinks about all this. It'd be interesting to know. So, allegedly, he's like real family friendly. I don't know. I think he's a player personally, like a player in the game. Members of the clergy are mandated reporters. And according to Florida Law Group, Taylor English church programs, the statutes do not require clergy or lay leaders to give their names. The clergy penitent privilege does not apply. Clergy must report anything they learn in course of confession or counseling. Isn't it interesting? It seemed like Hutchison got derailed from what she originally was talking about. Must be a coincidence, huh? So where are the reports with Amy, Miriam, Serge, Sana, and so many others' names? By law, the moment a minor reveals they are being abused, clergy must report it. Clergy must report it, Scientology. Not once has Scientology followed the law. Yeah, Clearwater's fine with that. In the state of Florida, where Scientology's flag base is located and where much of auditor training takes place, the legal definition of obscenity is 10. Obscene means the status of material which a. the average person applying a contemporary community standards would find taken as the whole appeals to the prurient interest. B. Depicts or describes in a patently offensive way sexual conduct as specifically defined herein, and C. Taken as a whole lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. A. Any right-thinking person who discovers David Miscavige. Wait a minute. Oh, so she's trying to apply what's in A. You know, because apparently David Miscavige is the only adult in Scientology that covers up child abuse, right? Told you that's when she got, at this point, that's when she got handled. Any right-thinking person who discovers David Miscavige and others studies pre-clear folders and publicly shames the objects of those folders with the information contained therein can have no doubt as to his prurient interest. Now she's getting a little redundant with saying prurient too many times. But I mean, I guess she is applying the original thing. So that makes sense. B. This is self-explanatory. Any adult discussing sexual matters in explicit detail with an underage adolescent is fulfilling this requirement fully. C. There is no possible value in exposing minors to any adult confessions. Despite Scientology's bizarre and damaging teaching that children are really adults in small bodies, the law says otherwise. The standard of what is harmful to minors may differ from the standard applied to adults. Harmful materials for minors include any communication consisting of nudity, sex, or you-know-what, that appeals to the prurient interest of minors. Yeah, like the L. Ron Hubbard policies. 2. Is patently offensive to prevailing standards in the adult community with respect to what is suitable material for minors. 3. And lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value for minors. That's an interesting part of that. It is clear that Scientology hides abuse behind a comfortable cloak of religious righteousness, calling auditing a spiritual act. Yeah, real spiritual. Doesn't make it one David Miscavige's perverted giggles. He's not the only one who's a pervert there. As he shares what he's read, remove any hope of sanctity from the endeavor. Bad enough that vulnerable adults are misled into revealing their most closely held secrets, which then are kept as a sword. Now that's an interesting way to describe it. Of Damocles to ensure obedience. Untenable are the children who, like Hubbard's 7-year-old little girl, are stripped of their rights to boundaries. Yeah, they're all about that. Safety and healthy childhood years. I agree. The difficulty, of course, is convincing Child Protective Services and law enforcement that intervention is desperately needed. Yeah, interesting how a lot of these first-generation Scientologists didn't do anything to work with Child Protective Services or law enforcement. Just a bunch of like hot air, like the Charlie Brown talking, wah, wah, wah. I did this, I did that, and yet nothing happens. I don't believe fake stories. It's my opinion. To make a report, one needs names both of the abused and the abuser. And the abuser. Didn't LAPD throw out, or they didn't do anything regarding Danny Masterson's victims? Why aren't they held accountable for not doing anything about the women that came in and reported the abuse by Danny Masterson? Why aren't the LAPD officers being disciplined or either put in prison or taken off the force? Inquiring minds want to know why that is. That's a true and complete dereliction of duty. To make a report, one needs names both of the abused and the abuser. No provision is made for the unannounced investigation of children being raised within an abusive cult. This is Scientology's stay out of jail free card. It is a tragic oversight, prurient voyeuristic facts, lascivious, lecherous, lustful, lewd, libidinous, lubricous, depraved, debauched, degenerate, dissolute, dissipated, also having or encouraging an excessive interest in sexual matters. Yeah, with children. And that's it. So that's it for this one, guys. I wanted to make sure I got this out there, even though I don't want to sit and have tea with Hutchinson. I think her writing initially was well done and sounds like she had good intentions from the start. And then, it went south, of course. Because that's when, what is that called? The Dead Agent Pack came in. So I will leave a link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace.